If you hunt enough, you learn the truth. What you seek speaks a language and knows it well. That's why every Primo's call for everything you hunt is made the right way. We sweat every detail so you get more out of every hunt, and nothing leaves our hand until we know it'll work in yours. Because we don't just make the world's best calls, we speak the language. Primos.
Boat Trader, America's largest boating marketplace, offering easy financing and over 100,000 boat listings to choose from. Sell, find, and finance new or used boats on America's largest boating marketplace. Visit BoatTrader.com to get started.
Hello and welcome to the Publicly Challenged Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Oswald, and I hope you join me on my quest for knowledge to become a better public land hunter, angler, and forager. Stick with this and who knows, maybe we will learn something together.
We are joined today by the highly controversial Pearson Wilhite. Wilhite, or am I saying that correct?
Yeah, it's Wilhite. Yeah.
Also known as the black-footed ferret killer.
Yeah, so Pearson, I really want to give you a moment to tell us about who you are and what you do, and we're going to really dig deep into this recent debacle.
But first,
yeah.
before we do that, before we dig into that, we want to know you. We want to know you as a person, and we will make no judgments. We've seen your social media stuff. Seems like you're a nice guy, and you're just wanting to educate, inform, and share your knowledge with the world.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's a pretty cool opportunity for me just to tell my side of the story, because on social media, I do little reels, 1 minute videos where you can't say a whole lot in that 1 minute, but people assume a whole lot. And so it's nice to be able to come on and actually explain what happened. And certainly I did not intend to cause so much controversy. I didn't realize I was stirring stirring the pot, I guess, until I got educated as well. So we can get into that.
Yeah, but so go ahead, man. Tell us about yourself, how it all came to be. I mean, were you always into permaculture? Was it something that you picked up as a kid? Where did all this come from?
Yeah, so I actually got a degree in horticulture from BYU, Idaho, back in 2014, and I was in the industry for only a couple of years, growing trees and shrubs in North Idaho. Then when that wasn't enough to support the family, I hopped out and changed industries. And I haven't been in the industry, but permaculture itself has always been kind of, before I went to college, I read Sepp Holzer's permaculture book. I don't know if you've ever heard of Sepp Holzer, but he's over in Austria.
Yep.
And I loved the book. And I was like, this is fantastic. Like, if people are good stewards of the land that they've got, it can produce endlessly for themselves and the animals around. And so I was like, man, this is really cool. That's what got me into kind of the horticulture world. And then in college, my main focus was greenhouse production and propagation. So just multiplying plants. And I really liked that. It's always stuck with me that I just like growing stuff. And so, recently I was like, I'm going to make videos of me going around planting things, and who can get mad at a guy that's planting trees? Well, evidently half the world can get mad at the guy planting trees. So,
well, I just want to step in and say, Pearson, that for the whole world to hear, and especially because I feel like I do have a little bit of a say in the foraging world, kind of, and I feel like everybody who jumped on the bandwagon against you owes you a humongous apology. But first and foremost, plants are people too, and the Black Forager, they owe you a huge apology. I think that they may not have understood what was happening and what was going to happen. And I just like, I find it hard to believe that, especially the whole like, you're going to kill these black-footed ferrets. That was just like such a logical, like absurd. It's just an absurdity to say that,
Yeah. Yeah. Through the whole debacle, I learned stuff too. But when the Black Forager, I can't remember her name. What?
Alexis Nicole.
Alexis Nicole.
Mhm.
I messaged her immediately when I saw the video, because I had a friend that had also reposted the video, and I was like, dude, why didn't you just message me? Like, but I messaged Alexis Nicole just on TikTok. I understand she's got like 4 million plus followers, and so she probably gets a million messages anyways. Just telling her, hey, I'm not trying to stir the pot or mess anything up here. I apologize. I'm going to make my video private because I don't want to make anything worse.
Yeah.
And I ended it with just sending only love, and she never responded. But it is strange that someone with such a large platform wouldn't reach out to try to understand a little bit more before just kind of railing on somebody.
Well, okay, so that's what was going to bring me to my next point, which is that I feel as though, the plants are people too. Like, that's his thing. Like, he's like, whether you agree with it or not, which I don't, and people who listen to this podcast know, like, I'm a huge questioner of the narrative of like what a native plant is.
Yeah.
So what is a native plant? And you listen to this podcast enough, you're gonna know that like it's a nuanced perspective to me. Like, I don't think it's just like this black and white thing. So plants are people too. He made that post, and then Alexis Nicole sees it. She could have just messaged you. He could have just messaged you.
Yeah.
And that would have been the adult thing to do. But what I think that I honestly feel like what happened with the Black Forager was just another thing to just have attention. It's just like a post for attention.
Yeah, I think that happens a lot in social media where somebody sees something that they can really get a lot of views from because it's so polarizing.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think that's kind of what happened with a lot of the stitches that went on. It just was like, I can get views from this for sure. I mean, for those that don't know, this video that really went mega viral was a video that I went for a run with wildflower seeds that I bought from the store. I added in like a few older seeds that I had in my own stores, like lettuce and some cilantro or something, and sprinkled that along a trail in my city. And I was like, oh, I can come back on this trail and maybe we'll get some growing. And unfortunately, Utah's too dry, so nothing's growing anyways. But I spread that, and that's kind of what led to, over the next couple of days, before I took this video down, over all the different platforms, I had, 6 million or more views. So that's why it was like such
which is awesome. I mean, even if it's bad publicity for you, it's still publicity. And at some point, somebody's going to watch all your other stuff and be like, this dude's pretty cool. So what? So he made a mistake, right? I mean, before we got into this whole thing, I was going to ask you, like, hey, pretty cool. I see you got some mushroom spawn, some grain spawn there behind you. So, some bags. What are you doing with those? Like, ease into it. And Clay's just like, man, they owe you an apology. And which they do. Well, I fully agree to that. I think anytime here's the problem, and I think and Clay and I have talked about this, and I don't know if that's the episode you listened to or not, but in the words of Mike Tyson, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And that's the problem with social media. Nobody is getting punched in the face anymore, and they think they could just say whatever they want and attack people. And here we are
having a civil discussion, talking about it, getting to go know a pretty cool guy that we're probably going to talk online a lot now, slide into each other's DMs and be like, hey, man, cool, I see what you're doing there. What about this? Have you ever tried this? And that's how a dialogue opens up. And next thing you know, you're friends like Clay and I. But nobody wants to do that, right? They want to bash somebody. They want to see an opportunity. Prime example, okay? I built a new motor for my boat for the river, and it's a surface drive. So I was like, oh, Predator motors are what I used, right? So I joined this Facebook group asking a serious, legitimate question. Hey, how can I make this thing quieter? Then you got all these people. You could put earplugs in. That makes it a lot quieter. Or why don't you shut the motor off and grab some oars? That's not what you know what I mean? And it's a Facebook group dedicated to actually like tweaking and modifying these motors. So why wouldn't you ask that?
They're supposed to be helping, but they're not.
Yeah. So that's the world we're living in now.
Yeah. It's strange jumping into the social media scene and getting it all at once, like through a fire hose. It was a shock to my system. And I went silent there for a few days after the video went. Because I didn't know what to do. I was just like, how do I respond?
Yeah.
And I had the Utah Department of Natural Resources calling me every single day. They were getting endless calls all day, every day about me. And they were super kind. Like it was great to talk to somebody with a level head, which was fantastic. Like I was completely open and honest about everything that I planted, how many, where, and they were great to work with, and they've left their phone lines open to me to be able to call them with anything. But they did encourage me to put out that first initial follow-up video where I let everybody know I'm in contact with them. They're like, please, no more calls.
That video, I was gonna say, you kind of look like you're like at like you're like reading a hostage letter.
Yeah, like somebody's holding up a poster board.
I didn't know what to do. Like, I was on vacation. I was supposed to be having like a relaxing time, and we were traveling from Utah down to Texas for the eclipse at the time, and we happened to be like in Arizona. It was Page, Arizona, at some tiny little hotel room, and I told my wife, just take the kids and go get dinner. I need to make a video. I don't know what, I need to calm the internet down for a second. So it was not a shining moment, but I was just like, I don't know. I just need to make something and put it out there.
So, take us through like the timeline then a little bit. Like you're just posting, like I'm curious, did anybody say anything to you previous to this, or did you get any pushback at all in your comments, anything?
Nothing, because I didn't have a video really go viral until then.
Okay.
And so, I'm having the standard 200 to 400 views per video, every video that I make. And so they're just normal people videos. And granted, I was planting, I started with walnuts that I had stratified over the winter, and I was planting those on the backside of a cemetery in my city because I was like, this hill's too steep. Like, no, the city's not going to use this area. And, there's like 3 walnut trees around that hill. And so I had gathered some walnuts from there, and I was like, I'll just plant more walnuts here. And, 10 years down the road, there'll be more walnut trees. That'll be kind of cool.
Is this a local southwestern black walnut?
This was, I think they were actually English walnuts, and that's what kind of was.
Yeah, I saw
also
the
not
that you collected, and they were really thin hulled, and I was like, oh, where do you get those?
Yeah. So it was likely that they were planted there before, because they're English walnuts. And the reason I was like, justified it is because, in my opinion, they're not invasive, for one. 2, it's within the city limits, and they're not going to get wild at all. 3, walnut wood is very, very sought after, and people are going to cut it down anyways at
Yep.
some point. And 4, English walnuts are what you buy at the grocery store, you know, and they're just really, really easy to harvest. Like the hulls just open up, and you can take them and use them like right then. Whereas black walnuts, you know, the hulls really it's hard to get out, and they're really a hard nut. So I see where there's the native and non-native issue. I guess I didn't want to tell everybody where I was planting, like it was just like right in my city.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
So I said nature, and that's probably another thing that really got people wound up. So my premise is to just try to provide more food for people that's just free, that they can forage for and know that what it is. But my implementation was flawed, and so I guess I get what I deserve when I put that out on the internet.
I don't think anybody deserves that. You know, it's different if somebody's understanding and they say, "Hey, whoa, just so you know, this is what you're doing. This is what it could do." But that was never the case. Right off the bat, I mean, you're the ferret Hitler all of a sudden, and you're marching them right into a genocide. Like, what is this? I mean, that is how, what is it? It's a logical fallacy, right? Like people automatically tie one thing with another thing and have this ideal in their head, when realistically, one, it's too dry in Arizona. I mean, in Utah, and they're probably never even gonna germinate in the first place. But people are crazy.
Well, I just want to step in real quickly and say that I think that it's unfair for people to say that, because like there are legit English walnut farms like all over. I know we live in totally different places, but northern Michigan, where I live, there are English walnut farms. They're not that big, because like the plant is like at the very extent of its range here. So like I'll sometimes pick them from people's yards, and maybe 8 out of 10 of them are empty.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like they just won't have good germination or pollination. But that's not to say that like, so this is another point that I wanted to bring up, and that is that everybody is on this bandwagon right now of this native plant only thing, and we have it's kind of like become a psychosis in the world, because many plants that are here in this country that feed our whole entire world are non-native. And if we made the switch to overnight to like, no, you can't have anything non-native here. Well, I'm sorry, what does that do with corn north of Mexico?
Right.
Corn
and modern corn. It's nothing like what it used to be.
Yeah.
Or wheat. I mean, really, like.
Yeah, we'd be eating nothing. Everything.
It'd be chenopodium is what it would be. Mass fields of chenopodium everywhere.
Yeah, it would be that. It would be, and that brings up another question though. Is that, even like, is that even native to here?
Don't know, but we know it's been farmed here since what, like 13 or 12 something, like.
Oh no, that was farmed actually like 2,000 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, more than 2,000 years ago. Yeah, but corn is like, that's the funny one, because corn agriculture didn't even reach where I'm at until like the 1400s. So like you have these people who are like, corn's this indigenous grain. I'm like, really? So it's like it's only been indigenous to this area since the 1400s. And they probably only realistically like actually learned how to like farm it good, like after a while, because it's got to acclimate to the new like climate and the environment and the geology.
Yeah. And most of them are hybrids.
Well, now everything's genetically modified anyway, and it's Roundup ready, and that's a whole nother story. I mean, people are going to get on you for planting a plant, but everybody else has a permit or a license to do whatever they want and spray whatever they want and kill more than anything else. Not to mention, decline in turkey populations, and like they're finding out now that poults, that they're having groups of poults instead of like 8 or 9 normal is what the grouping of poults is, that they're down to like 3 in some places. And
Wow.
and a lot of that is actually linked to modern agriculture and predators, but mostly modern agriculture, because it's actually sterilizing and changing the hormones in all these animals.
Yeah, and won't they lay their eggs and nests like out in a field, and then the farmer will come through and harvest, and it'll just like
Yeah.
When I was in North Idaho living up there, we had a big farm field behind our house, and every year I'd see eagles out there eating another dead animal, run over by a tractor.
Wow.
A hay combine just mowed over a bunch of turkeys or a small fawn. I understand, like our modern agriculture has gotten our population to where it is, and I don't think we'd survive without that. But I think there does need to be a shift in the way that we farm. The last 100 years of farming needs to shift, and I think permaculture, food forests, I think those need to be implemented into our society somehow. Like, can you imagine if there was like a New York Central Park sized permaculture areas within cities that, just provided a ton of food that was open to the public for people to just go forage what they want, I think that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, and I wanted to say another thing too, which is kind of funny, right? Like the whole native plant thing has gotten really out of hand here the last few years, and I have here where I live is Traverse City, Michigan. So I'm right up in the pinky of the mitten, and we have a series of trails called the Tart Trails, and they're bike trails, and there's a couple spots where we've actually gained permission from the local Tart Trail officials, and we've planted food forests.
Oh wow!
And actually, so he was one of my best friends, and he unfortunately ended his own life, but but so he was the originator of these ideas, and well, actually, I used to go and plant illegally.
Allegedly, you used to go plant illegally.
I used to do it. I used to just plant with no permission. And then Jonathan, he was one of my best friends. He was like willing to wade through the paperwork, which I was like, I don't want to do paperwork. I'm not gonna like request anything. I'm just gonna put seeds in the ground.
Yeah.
Now I did that for a long time, and then we actually got permission. Now these food forests that we've put in, they are a mix of native and non-native.
Yeah.
But nobody has ever said anything, and actually, it's like widely embraced by the community, and it's a really cool thing. And I think, and I find it odd that anybody would be like, "No, I don't want that free food because it's not, like that's not a plum from here. That's a plum from Asia."
Yeah. It is a weird debate that I didn't even know was a debate until I made this video. But
yeah,
in my mind, as long as something's not invasive,
and
it grows in your area and it's beneficial for people and wildlife, why not plant it?
When you say invasive, I just want to clarify though, because that's kind of what we're talking about, right? Is invasive versus, native, non-native. So you're talking like detrimental, something that does serious damage, like kudzu or something like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like in Utah, Russian olive is super invasive, and Phragmites is very invasive. The DNR, when they first talked to me, they wanted to make sure I wasn't planting any of those.
Even
I gave them my
though,
list of what I had planted. I was like, I planted 15 apple seeds over here, and they're like, oh, okay, well, why are we getting calls?
Yeah.
You did some grape grafting too?
I took cuttings from my parents' grapevine in their backyard, and I never planted those out anywhere. So those I took those cuttings, I've rooted them out. They're at my house. They're in my greenhouse, and I'm just going to give those away to local people that would like grapes. I figure, if people don't want them planted out where everybody can get them. Well, maybe I'll just share them with people who have space in their yard, and those people can share the produce with their friends and family. It's just more food that's available for people. So
Yeah.
I've got elderberry cuttings. Okay, I've never
Yeah.
had them successfully root before. Okay,
Well,
I tried doing the jar of water and all that stuff. This
Yeah.
year, my friend goes, "You need to get an aquarium bubbler." So I got a bubbler, put it in a mason jar. Every single one of them actually have like little roots and the white all the way around on them too, like where they got the little like where the buds
Yeah.
turned into like rootings, like starting. So now, what do I do from there? Where do I go?
yeah. Once you're seeing the root,
Yeah.
or once you have a decent amount of roots,
Okay,
you know,
yeah,
5 or 6 or whatever, where you're seeing the little side shoots come off those roots.
yep.
Take those and pot them up, or plant them out, and you should be good to go. That's farther than I got with my elderberries this
Okay.
year. I took cuttings of elderberries. I've never done them before, and I
Okay.
did this exact same thing. I tried them in
I've-
mason
I've
jars.
tried laying them on
and
their side. I've tried putting them
tried
in
laying
jars.
them on their side
Yep.
in some soil. I can't
Yep.
get any of them to root.
So that's
but
what I did. And somebody else said if you have an aquarium with fish in it and a bunch of bubblers, it works even better. So apparently, then it's got the nutrients from the fish in there, and it creates. And they're like, if you have a fish tank,
Awesome.
the best thing you could do to get your cuttings to actually root is to use the fish tank.
That's amazing. That's
So-
actually a fantastic idea, and I'm gonna implement that.
So
I'm gonna
what
do
am I
that.
going to do with the elderberry though? Yes, I'm going to take some. I'm going to put it in some places that is public, and it's native, and I'm
Yeah.
going to take it and put it on my property too, just like I do with
Yeah.
ramp seeds. Sometimes
Yep.
I just have a pocket full and let them fall out places, and hopefully they go.
Luke, do you not have a lot of elderberry where you are?
I do not have a lot of elderberry where I am, but there's other places that there is a bunch. But I just want it everywhere. Why not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, here where I live, elderberry is like so ubiquitous. It's like I actually kind of laugh when I go to clients' houses, like because I own a gardening business, so I'll go to clients' houses that I want to plant an elderberry. I'm like, why?
Well, walk over there. They're right there.
Yeah, they're like seriously everywhere. But I associate it with being like a wetland plant. What does an elderberry look like for Utah?
There's only a couple of places. Actually, the backside of the cemetery had
Mhm.
an elderberry plant that I found, so I took cuttings from there. And then I knew that a place up in the mountains that I've seen before that had elderberry, and it is more wet in that area. There's some spring water that comes down, so I had hiked up there, and that's where I got a bunch of cuttings from. And I was going to just take them all back up and just make more of them. So
Do you happen to know the species name?
I don't
Oh, okay.
know
I di-
what's local
didn't-
here.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought potentially that there was a different species of elderberry over in Utah. Our local elderberry is Sambucus canadensis,
Mhm.
I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't there, what is it, like an Americanus or something similar to that, for, like out west, or is it, what is it?
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I know that the ones up in the mountains that I got, they will put on like a blue colored berry. Like it's
Oh, yeah. So you got those are Western elderberries then. Yeah.
okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Thank you, Clay. I don't know. I should know better.
I ask Clay stuff all the time. The other day I was like, these don't have flowers yet. I'm not sure to ID them. Is this Jerusalem artichoke? And he's like, sure looks like it to me. You never really did give me a good answer on that, by the way, Clay. It was just kind
Yeah,
of.
but I always say that because when you're on the phone, you're looking at a picture on the phone. I don't want to say yes because I'm not there in person. It looks
Yeah, but I'm
like
not
it.
going to dig it up. I'm just like looking
Yeah.
for verification. I think this is what it is.
Yeah.
And then, of course, iPhone tells me it's something else. And I'm like, I don't know. Let's ask Clay. And that was a pretty freaking good picture. Let's be honest.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely thought it was fartichokes.
Yeah, as you said. Well, that's actually how I texted it to you. Is this fartichokes? But, yeah.
Yeah. Pearson, do you guys grow Jerusalem artichokes?
I don't have any, and I don't know if they're growing in Utah. I should learn. I should forage better, but I did just go out and find morels the other day. Actually, I found some today too. I went for a run up the canyon,
Uh-huh.
and and found some more morels, just a few of them.
How'd you
but
cook
that's
them? Did you
like,
cook them in butter?
yeah,
I
my
had to.
extent for foraging is pretty small.
Yeah.
But I'm still learning the foraging world.
Yeah.
But so did you cook them in butter?
Oh, I haven't cooked them yet.
Oh,
I'm still kind of a little scared. So
don't be
I
scared.
got them in my fridge.
Yeah. I think that morel is one of the safest mushrooms to identify.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you'll be fine as long as you cut that thing in half and it's hollow inside. Then you're all
Yep.
good.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I do want to interrupt really quickly to say that blue elderberry is Sambucus cerulean.
Oh, I was way off.
Cerulean.
I just made it up, but it sounded good to me. The Americanas.
Yeah. So yeah, and it actually shows this little range map here of it being in Utah. So I'm sure that's the species. Which
Okay, cool.
which again begs the question, if you're doing that and unfortunately you use the common name, right? So like people probably thought he's planting European elderberries.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And but you were just actually trying to take cuttings of a native species.
He could have been planting Big Martha up there and ruining the whole ecosystem.
Yeah. but
Yep.
but so the whole point is, and we drive this home a lot here on this podcast, is there is a lack of nuanced thinking and there's all this like quick snap judgment about things. And like you said, you post these like 1-minute reels and people didn't clearly understand what was happening before they kind of like freaked out.
Yeah.
And
But here's
like
sorry, but
yeah.
here's the thing about that though, and this whole most people get their information, right? They don't even do their own research. They get it from their so-called Instagram or TikTok messiah that they think is the end-all be-all. And really, that person probably went on Google, did a 5-minute search, and now is standing before everybody with their video like they're 100% confident, and they know for a fact that this is the way it should be. This is the only way it is. And then these other people is just an echo chamber, just going bouncing back off of each other, feeding each other like a bunch of jackals, and then they see your video and they just want to tear you apart, just foaming at the mouth, ready to tear you apart over one person and what they say.
I am glad I haven't run into anybody that recognizes me yet, so that's good.
That's awesome. What are some of like the craziest things that people did comment and say to you? Because like I read through some of them like after the first couple days, and I was like, wow, this is a little.
This is pretty heated.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I honestly couldn't read the comments past a certain amount of time. Like I was just like, I'm out. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
But I think somebody wished or a few people wished I had died. I wasn't around.
Classic.
Did you
liken me to an ecological terrorist?
Wow.
And I'm just a dude planting food crops. So sorry.
Yeah. I'm actually personally ashamed of one of my friends jumped on the bandwagon. I'm not gonna name him.
I will. No.
No.
But that friend is if it's the same friend, then he also did say, "Hey, that was a great apology. Way to take ownership of, like he did."
But he himself never made an apology for all the lack of nuanced thinking, not like it basically used his platform to sick a bunch of people on YouTube
at first,
and
yeah.
And then the only mention that I saw on his platform of like what you had done wrong was he said the flower mix that you planted contained 8% of bird's foot trefoil, and I was just like, okay, 8% of his flower mix that he was sprinkling on top of the soil,
which is going to get like less than 1% germination.
I was mainly feeding birds, so I was doing just sprinkle some bird seed out there.
But so I do want to clarify though, is bird's foot trefoil, like, did they have any when you contacted the Utah DNR, did they say anything to you about that particular species? Because
they did not.
This friend of mine made a big old stink about that one species.
Yeah, they didn't. I told them exactly what I planted. and I gave them the packet with the ingredients of that packet. And then in that email to them, I said, hey, if anything should be scrutinized here, you should be making sure that this wildflower mix cannot be sold in Utah if there's an issue, right?
Yeah.
If there's an issue with me planting this out in the wild, make sure this wildflower seeds or these wildflower seeds can't be sold here, because anybody could go up and be like, oh, here's wildflower, and do exactly what I did, right?
Oh, yeah.
They would assume this belongs in the wild. So, yeah, I made a mistake for not researching every single ingredient of the wildflower mix, and that's on me.
Yeah. Well, my wife did the same thing just recently. She brought home, they went to some, I don't know, plant walk or something. I don't remember what it was or how they did it, but the kids went and they went with a field biologist and did some different things. And at the end of it, they had a bunch of seeds, and some of those were wildflower seeds. And my wife took like 2 packs of them home, and they're sitting on the counter. I go, what are you going to do with those? And she goes, I don't know. I thought about planting them in the backyard. And I go, no, we're not going to. And I said, this is why. And she goes, well, that's dumb. Why would they even give them out then? I said, well, because maybe they just don't know.
Yeah.
And I said, it's not that big of a deal. I just don't want them there. I want to see what native stuff pops up. I've been trying to burn and control and kind of see what just seed bank happens, with all the stuff in my soil. And slowly I've been letting the grasses and things die off and let all the other stuff take over. So
nice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just looked it up, and it does look like you actually have a native Utah bird's foot trefoil, but that also bird's foot trefoil may also be an invasive species in your state.
Okay.
So the whole point though is like if you planted like 8% of some seed mix and you planted it in your city, which is not a native environment, and like a couple of those plants germinated, it's likely that seed is already present in the seed bank, and the hysteria that was, turned up should not have happened. Basically, and I just I want to know, another thing, is it still happening? Are you still getting people messaging you or anything?
No, it's calmed down.
Okay.
So that was the point. Any video that showed me actually planting anything in nature, I do quotes here because it's in my city on marginal land in the city.
Yeah.
But any of those videos I made private because I don't like controversy, and I stirred up the most controversy of my entire life.
Yeah.
It was too stressful for me. So it's all died down. It's calmed down.
So what are you going to do next that's going to just make everybody's head explode? No,
Oh, gosh. Express my opinion on this podcast that I think...
There you go.
Yeah.
As long as it's not invasive and it grows well in your area, I think it should be planted.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Especially if it's, okay, it's an urban environment. Look at all the stuff they're planting anyway. Look at all the trees that have already been planted, or the fact that they plant mostly male trees so they don't have to clean up the fruit. Like all of those things and all those factors are super modifications, and we're doing this one little percentage, right? And if they would just plant more trees to where they were pollinating each other and then they actually had fruit and all these other things like that, it would be more beneficial. But then, you look in all these urban scapes and they're putting all kinds of ivy and everything else that if that ever got out and branched away from that, that could be way more detrimental. There's a hunting area that I have that has English ivy that somebody, I'm guessing, backed up and dumped their landscape or something. And that has taken over to the point where I've actually thought about just going and just putting herbicide on it to the point where it kills it all because it is bad. And
don't do that.
I'm not doing it, but their state is not doing anything either. I'm not going to do it.
But I will tell you, English ivy is one of the most amazing basketry materials.
I don't care about that when it's killing out all of the native species of everything.
No, I'm saying use it. I'm saying use it for baskets.
Clay, I'm talking it's like 4 acres of English ivy and just spreading.
Lots of baskets.
You make baskets. I don't want to make baskets.
Learn how to weave baskets.
Yeah, no, but I was just talking to somebody else about this recently. Like, why do we not sick the powers of capitalism on, plant life?
Because I don't want to make a basket. If you want to make a basket, I'll take you there. You can make as many baskets as you want.
Baskets aside, he's saying baskets aside.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing with like the mustard, right?
Why aren't we funding food forests?
Yeah, absolutely.
But Luke, here's another thing. English ivy is so good as an air purifier that NASA uses it on their space station. And so you could go in there and breathe the best, most clean air possible in that 4 acres.
Fishing like a local isn't just about catching fish. It's about connecting with the environment and the people who call it home. It's about hearing the stories and traditions that have been passed down for generations and sharing unforgettable moments with the people you meet along the way. Fishing like a local is having an experience that stays with you forever. And with Fishing Booker, you can experience it too, no matter where you are. Discover your next adventure on Fishing Booker.
Spend your Saturdays with life on the water. Join Captain Brandon Simmons for fishing, diving, travel, and so much more.
You want to succeed, you want to fish, you want to be one of the greatest.
Oh, look at that thing, dude. Wow. Oh. Let's see what kind of trouble we can get into today.
Don't miss Life on the Water every Saturday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern on Waypoint TV. The destination for outdoor entertainment.
I'm learning all sorts of new stuff.
Yeah. I actually I really like English ivy, and here where I live, our soil is too sandy and it can't invade. So English ivy is like, if you plant it, it's just like it might take over like the side of your wall. My neighbor's actually got some right here, and it's growing up their side right there, and but it really is like too sandy here for them to invade. But however, I have been to the Pacific Northwest, and English ivy is indeed like an actual invasive species there.
There used to be grapevines with actual wild grapes and everything, and it just choked them out. They're gone.
Well, I think a lot of people saw my grape cutting video and freaked out because they're from an area where grapes do that very same thing. They're just invasive like crazy and choke things out. Whereas if they come to Utah, they realize it's so arid that if it's not planted in an irrigated spot, like it's dead that year. It's not going to make it. Like there's a lot of plants that way. Any plants that you're wanting to grow that are, not native, which is everybody's landscape here in Utah. I don't understand why, but it all has to have irrigation. And
wow,
the narrative's shifting. My cousin works at a nursery, and they've had a lot of demand for native plants, which is great because the water demand is going to be a lot less. But yeah, if it doesn't have irrigation for the most part, it's not going to live.
Yeah. So how many inches of rain are you guys getting a year then?
Oh gosh. You got to look that one up.
So, but
I'm going to say 20, 24 maybe.
So like pretty low amounts of rain.
Yeah, it's pretty low.
We've had that in like the last month, it seems like.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's been crazy. It's been super, super wet. I mean, there was a week where we got every other day, it was like 2.5, 3 inches of rain. Yeah, wow. It was wet.
That is crazy.
Yep. It's been a really rainy season up here too. I'm surprised it hasn't hit you either because this is supposed to be a La Nina summer.
El Nino. La Nina. No, what's the difference?
Yeah. El Nino is during the winter, and La Nina is during the summer.
I never knew that. I thought El Nino was El Nino, and that was it.
No, no. El Nino is like a current that happens in the winter that creates warmer winter. So like everybody's like freaking out like personally that I know up here about global warming.
Yeah.
And I have to be like, hey guys, we just had one of the strongest El Ninos on record, and that's probably why.
But it's because of global warming, Clay.
Yeah. And then La Nina is kind of a continuation, but it makes us up here, at least anyway, get a heck of a lot of rainfall. And it makes it so it's like kind of hot, humid up here in the north. So I don't know what the effect is.
Is that still a current? Is that a current pushing? Because I actually heard somebody on the radio talking about this today, where there's some current pushing, and it's forcing a lot more precipitation in a lot of places than there would normally be. Yeah, and it seems like we're going to continue to get that. It's like on trend for a while.
We're going to have a great mushroom year, Luke.
I like it.
So you're just getting into the foraging thing. I wanted to speak to that before. You posted a video the other day, which I thought was actually pretty funny. So Sam Thayer is a friend of mine and Luke's. And,
no way.
And he's been on the podcast. And,
that's very cool.
And he is. You posted that video of eating the thistle stem, and I thought that was pretty funny. Because I actually really like them, but you didn't look like you enjoyed it too much.
To me, they're like they give me heartburn if I eat too many of them. This is no joke. Like the day you and I ate like 3 or 4 of them that day when we recorded that stuff together, Clay, and like I had heartburn driving home and I was burping up thistle.
Oh my god!
Are you serious?
Oh yeah.
Well, what about you, Pearson?
No, I did like it. I did think it needed to have like a ranch dip, so I ended up getting more. I ended up getting more, and I got inside and I took those baby carrots and I stuck baby carrots in the center. And dipped it, and it was fantastic. It was really good.
Oh man, that's funny.
So, that's really cool that you know Sam Thayer. I followed him for a bit, and I think he's just a genius. I like him a lot.
Yeah, he definitely knows a lot about plants. Him and really like Arthur Haynes, I think would be like the top 2 people I would say that are like knowledgeable. But Arthur doesn't post as much online.
He posted that the other day though, which was like the first I'd seen Arthur pop up in my feed in forever. And all of a sudden it's him, holding out his turkey that he caught, and he's like, not a great picture, my hair's all frizzy, like apologizing. And it's like, just be proud of the moment, man. You shot a great bird, you worked really hard for it. And then like I think his daughter got one. Yeah, worked super hard, got a Jake. And then he actually did an informative post about, educating people that the center feathers on the fan are actually taller on a Jake, and that's how you can identify them when they're all fanned out. The center feathers are taller, and that's because they're a Jake. They're immature. They haven't grown out yet. Yeah. But I'm like, that's great. That's great stuff. Educate them. Don't apologize for you and the way your hair looks or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Pearson, I actually missed this on the last podcast, but I gotta get it in on this one. Yeah. So what is the worst wild food that you've ever eaten?
The worst wild food.
I like to ask every single guest this question, and it could be wild game, wild whatever. Just what's the worst?
Yeah, no, I'm golly. I wish I could say I've eaten a whole lot of stuff, but everything that's wild that I've eaten, wild game, and plants, it's all been pretty tame. I mean, I've chewed on plantain, and put it on, stings, and that's really bitter. I don't like that.
Yeah,
I don't mind plantain. Right. I can actually eat the plantain. Clay,
you like it?
I do. It's not bad.
And you don't like thistle. There's an issue.
No,
here.
It's not that I don't like thistle. Like it just, if I eat too much, it's weird. Like I get a weird like reflux from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Interesting. Now plantain was so bitter that I was like,
it's very fibrous.
If I was gonna die, I'd start eating plantain.
So I want you, Pearson, to jump on the dandelion challenge then, and eat however many dandelions you can on video, and then like tag me in it, and I'm gonna share it for the dandelion challenge.
What? There's a challenge?
Yeah.
For
yeah,
eating dandelions?
I haven't even jumped on yet because I just kind of been waiting, and it's been pretty weak sauce this year. So I think
so
like
what-
the 5
Aren't
are
they
the most.
done?
No,
Well,
this
I've-
is like
I've
the
still got-
second
I've still got
flush.
some around
Yeah, it's
in
the
my
second
yard.
flush right now of dandelions.
Huh.
Yeah.
So what's the challenge? You just
However
are you
many
just
you can
eating
eat
the flower?
and the stem, and then like put them
And the
in and
stem.
eat them all from stem to flower, and then just like make it that you're actually eating them, and then
I've
there-
never participated in this.
Clay
It's
has
so
never
stupid.
participated in it. He thinks we're all
I mean, I've
ridiculously
eaten the
stupid,
flower petals and stuff,
which is
but I
pretty
know
terrible.
that-
But yeah,
I know that the stems and the greens can be pretty bitter.
although now the more I eat them, the more I actually enjoy it now, and I look forward to it.
Yeah, dandelion's one of those things though that early on I remember eating it, when I got into foraging and like forcing myself to eat it and being like, this is so good.
I've
Just
never
because
never done that. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've eaten hostas and I thought they were pretty mild, like just lame. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I ate them like twice and I was like, okay, there's no point to eat any more hostas unless I'm starving. There's a bunch of stuff like that though, but there's a lot
I have
that I
heard-
do like. Like
I've
I
heard
like
that
garlic
hostas-
mustard, Clay.
Ugh. I have heard though that hostas are variable from one to the other as far as like flavor goes, and that like some of the big like hostas that people grow, those are not that great. So I don't know if you were eating like a smaller hosta, but
Smaller.
apparently they have better
Yeah.
tasting.
Well, I don't
spears.
eat them. I don't eat them when the leaves are unfurled. I always eat them when they're tiny little shoots. I
Yeah.
think they're too fibrous. Just like plantain, I would actually eat it in a salad if it wasn't so fibrous. But it's like it
Yeah.
becomes pretty tough.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you can chew on it and floss at the
Oh
same
yes, yes, yes. Might as well eat some mullein leaf too.
time. Yeah.
So
Uh,
I was floating a river the other day, about a month ago down in Arizona, and came across cattails. And because of Sam Thayer, I was like, hey, I'm gonna dig up some, those side shoots of cattails. I'm gonna try that out. So I tried cattail this year for the first time. And it
Oh,
was
and
good.
you were able to get some?
Yeah, I got some. There
That's
were
cool.
decent size side shoots that were coming off.
Where were you at in Arizona about a month ago?
It was Mesa area.
Okay,
There's a
I
river
was-
called the Salt River, and we were
Ah.
floating that.
Me and my brother were in Arizona about a month ago, and we were filming some foraging stuff. down there.
Where
cool.
were you at, Clay?
I was
An
staying in
undisclosed
Flagstaff.
location. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I was staying in Flagstaff, and we were driving around doing filming in like Sedona and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we went to the Verde River, which is
Verde River.
it's somewhere around Sedona area. So I have this YouTube channel called Foraging the 50, and
Okay.
it's not very big yet. But the whole thing is like it's an episode in every state. So we're going and we meet up with an expert forager in another state. They take us out and like show us cool plants, and then we get it all on film and then cook a meal together.
That's awesome.
And the last state that we filmed in was Arizona, and that was about a month ago.
Cool. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah,
While you're there.
yeah, it was pretty cool. We did see a western diamondback rattlesnake right on the trail while we were out there.
Well, that's
So-
fun.
Yeah, so that was a little bit like whoa. And then my brother is like he's like crazy, so he's like, let's get up really close to it and get some video footage. He was probably like 5 feet away from it, and it was like totally coiled up and
Oh gosh, it was like ready to strike.
Have
Yeah.
you seen?
goodness.
I don't remember the guy's name, but I thought he was like a fisherman or something. But he goes all over the world now, and he's on TikTok, and he's like, "Oh, hey, look at this cool thing," and like picks up just like random animals that are super venomous and whatever. And he's like, "Oh, he
my
got me!" And like there was one where he's like, "Let's see how hard," and lets an iguana bite him. And I mean, it like tears him up, and he's like,
Oh my
"Ooh,
God.
that one's gonna hurt. Might get infected. I don't know. We'll see." Like just crazy random, and like, "Oh, hey, little fella," and like goes to a snapping turtle and sticks his hand out.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my
Did
god.
you let a snapping turtle bite
Oh
it?
yeah, he does all kinds of just random stuff. Yeah, he's
What
on a
in the
golf course
world?
and he's like, "Hey there, fella, look at this cute little guy," and walks right up to a little alligator that's like 4 foot. Just
Wow.
Well, I'm not that adventurous, but
no.
I did pick up a snake the other day.
There you go.
It was just a bull snake or whatever,
Yeah,
decent size, 4 feet long or something.
that's awesome.
So I got to ask you, the grain spawn once again. Let's get back to it. Never got that far.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing that? I mean, is this something you've been doing for a while, or just got into it?
No, this year's the first
Okay.
year I've done mushrooms, and I've got a flush of my first flush of blue oysters
Uh-huh.
coming out of a 5-gallon bucket right now.
Pretty cool.
Um,
Did you use straw for the substrate, or did you use wood?
I used aspen chips.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Aspen shavings is what I used. I should try the straw because
Clay
I
says
used some-
straw does.
I used-
I think straw colonizes faster.
Okay.
But I feel like the wood you get like a bigger yield.
Yeah.
Because it's like a more sustained over that.
Gotcha.
Like the straw gets depleted. Am I right with that, Clay?
It definitely eats it up faster. Yeah.
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 Clay says the oysters are all pretty invasive these days, right? Mr.
No.
Invasive?
Golden
oysters because they grow on anything.
Yeah.
But
Well, so Pearson, before we kind of start heading towards wrapping things up, I did want to just real quick circle back. Is there anything that you would like to say to all your haters? Just like like to show them how much of a stand-up guy you are, and just like how you were. I mean, from my telling of the situation, you weren't actually really doing anything bad. I mean, even the DNR said you weren't.
Yeah, the DNR cleared me after we had several conversations, and they understood everything that was planted and where it was planted. And I I don't I think everybody at this point, or at least those that have a heart, know that I'm not trying to destroy the environment or destroy the world. At the end of the day, my intentions are just to spread good things. And I thought, there's plenty of hungry people in the world, and why not? I know how to propagate food.
Yeah.
Why not just make that more available for people? And so I hope people can see past my flaws, or what they viewed as flaws, and see me for who I am and what I'm trying to do. And, hopefully as I progress and continue to do things, I'll just do it in a better fashion than so willy-nilly, I guess. Be a little bit more deliberate. And maybe I need to go talk with a city and learn what type of paperwork needs to happen.
Yeah.
Be able to plant a food forest or something like that. And I just think that would be a really cool legacy to have, and say, hey, I helped plant this food forest in my area, So
Oh yeah.
What if they
definitely
don't
encourage you.
want to? What if they don't want to forgive you, or
they can scroll past.
Or they
don't need to
don't
watch
like
my
it.
videos.
Mhm.
It's all good.
Yeah.
I'm just messing around.
Yeah. So you're on TikTok though?
I'm on TikTok. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. My YouTube is like crazy small.
Yeah.
I don't know. My other platforms actually took off. My YouTube platform didn't. So
Did you see an uptick after the video, or was it like when the video first started going viral before it got the negativity? Like, was there a point where it was good and trending well, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh crap, wait a minute, this is turning into something terrible?
Yeah. Probably the first 24 hours was pretty good, and I was like, this is great. This is really cool. And then it entered. It took a hard left turn, and the
Never quite
environmentalist
recovered.
group got involved, and I want to be understanding of those that make environmentalism their religion, and I want to work with them, because there's a lot of really smart people, and well-intentioned people, but there's so many people in all camps of the world, depending on whatever your passion is. They're not willing to open their mind and talk about the issues at hand and how to solve them properly. I think from what I've seen, most environmentalists would just prefer humans be dead and and nature just take over. But that's not going to happen. So either we continue like we have the last 100 years and continue to be destructive humans, or we become good stewards of the earth that we live on and try to mutually, just make the environment a better place. And I think there's a huge shift. Like there's massive groups doing wonderful things all over the place, like cleaning up the oceans and replanting forests and all sorts of stuff. And, we just need to be able to have good dialogue together rather than just tear each other apart because we, see something for a minute and think, oh, that person's harming. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not trying to bash anybody. I do want, I think there's a conversation to be had on how we move forward in providing food in a sustainable way.
Well, honestly, had you done that in a big city, you probably would have been lauded and praised for your efforts. Like if you had done that and posted that on social media that you had done that in like downtown Detroit, people would have been like, "He's a hero."
Maybe. Who knows?
You mean between the bombed out buildings and everything else?
Yeah, between the bombed out buildings. Yeah. No, I'm just saying because identity politics is like such a big thing right now, and it's such a huge detriment to our world. And I don't know if you agree or not, but I personally believe that one of the big reasons that you were attacked was just because you happen to be a male.
Are we
going
to
say
that? You're gonna say that, Clay? The white,
100%.
The white privilege. You can't.
I'm gonna say
do
for
that.
Sure. 100%.
This clean cut gringo over here, just minding his own business, trying to help people, and you're gonna say he's guilty of the white privilege. In the words of Greta Thunberg, how dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah.
Oh boy, you did it. You really opened up Pandora's box there.
Well, hopefully people will listen to it and get back to me and send me their hate.
Hopefully this is what happens, Clay. I want people to not judge people by anything other than being able to sit down and have a logical conversation with each other without getting angry, without their heads exploding, right? We talked about that. Just the narrow-mindedness, the echo chambers, everything else just needs to stop for a minute and everybody just sit down and be able to talk in a civil manner without being offended. There may be something that you don't agree with, but it doesn't have to trigger you. It doesn't have to turn you into some vicious monster on social media and wish somebody dead. None of that ever needs to happen.
Okay, so in that spirit, I want to do the next thing that I'm going to do. I'm going to invite on, if you hear this, Alexis, Nicole, if you hear this, plants are people too. Come on the podcast. Talk to us.
We're people too. We are people too.
Yeah. But
maybe we can have Pearson come back on and we can all talk.
I just think personally,
if he's up
like,
to that.
Yeah, people just need to, be nicer, be kinder, see the look in somebody's face, even if it is through a Zoom call. I can tell you're a well-meaning guy.
Well, if Alexis Nicole does hear this, maybe she can understand that I'm not angry at her.
All right.
It's the way things happened, and we can't change the past. But I don't like holding hard feelings. I don't like controversy either, and so I've let that all go.
Yeah,
and I'm just moving forward, trying to change course and just be better, I guess, and
Yeah.
All right, man. But I am here to say that you were already doing pretty good work, and I don't think that you should be down on yourself because so many other people convince themselves because they joined a mob, that you were doing bad. Like you planting walnuts that were already existing in a place with walnuts is not bad. But either way, we don't have to rant about this forever.
No.
How can people
thank
get how can people get a hold of you if they do want to get a hold of you and get some of those cuttings that you're going to give away?
Yeah, so you find me on my Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube under my name, Pearson Will Height.
Okay.
I try to respond to all the messages. In the cutting video, I made 64 of those 64. About 30 of them have taken so far.
That's actually good. That's actually good odds because normally it is.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So yeah.
And I'm not discounting the other ones yet. Some of them come on a little bit later. So, unfortunately, I don't know if I'm going to be able to ship things like now. It's just kind of it's easier to give away.
Yep.
I might do a meetup in the parking lot.
Yeah, you don't want that Addy getting out all over the place. You start slinging that address around, you're going to have packages with white powder and unidentified substances being shipped to your house or whatever. There's still probably some people that are steaming. So
if they're local to Utah, people have reached out to me if they're local to Utah and asked if they could have some, and I've given some away. And if it ends up coming to fall time and I haven't given them all away and they go dormant, I'd be more than happy to ship them. So
sweet.
I'm just kind of waiting to see if I can, how many people around locally to me need them.
So, Pearson, I got to ask you, do you hunt at all?
I've never done any hunting.
Because if you do that and you make another video of something else, just know that honestly, I think the infighting, and it's infighting too. That's what's even crazier. Is with hunters is probably just as bad, if not worse.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And what really bothers me about all this though is like, I just wish hunters, foragers, anglers, and then all the infighting with hunters, I wish everybody could just come together because all of this, all it's going to do is tear us all apart even more. And then anything that we have and we start arguing over, eventually you're going to lose that because you're too busy fighting with yourselves to worry about actual legislation or something that is going to crush it or kill it.
No.
I've got friends up in North Idaho. Do you know the Stuck in the Rut YouTube channel by chance?
I do not. No.
They're, I don't know, they've probably got 200,000 or something, but you should look them up. They're good friends of mine. I mean, maybe you have them on your podcast at some point, and they're great. They're great people. He's in North Idaho. His sister and brother-in-law are up in Alaska. They do some big game hunting.
That's cool.
Wow,
it's pretty good.
Pearson, we're gonna let you go here in a second, but I just want to say that if you ever do want to get into another controversial thing, fly to Africa and shoot a giraffe. Anyway,
or Pearson, just start hunting, posting all your videos, and do it with a crossbow.
Do it with a crossbow. But anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I as soon as I saw that video, I reached out to you, and as you know, it took you like 3 weeks to.
It took me a bit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, all good. But I'm happy to have met you. I'm happy to have this conversation, and hopefully Alexis does hear this. Hopefully she reaches out to you, and you guys can come together, just be friends.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Clay. Thank you, Luke. I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks for coming.
All
on.
right. See you next time.
And once again, thank you so much for listening to the Publicly Challenged podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please subscribe on whatever platform it is you're listening to. Also, if you could leave a review, that would help us out. And you can check us out on Instagram or at publiclychallenged.com. And once again, thank you so much for listening to the show.
You want to succeed, you want to fish, you want to be one of the greatest.
Tune in to West Marine's Life on the Water, presented by Costa Custom Boats, every Saturday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern on Waypoint TV. Join Captain Justin Leake and Meredith McCord for the best fishing action along Panama City Beach. Tune in to Chasing the Sun every Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern on Waypoint TV.